Got your back against the wall, no you know you never had a chance. Should've known better, now you better make other plans. There's no going back, gotta let you know in advance. This is Game's card.
Howdy everyone, Vinnie Silverman here. Just got back from my top 16 at ARG HARTFORD. This is the Magician deck I played. Since you can obviously see all the cards in it, I'm not going to talk through the entire deck list, but there are some things that I played that are different from other Magician decks that I want to talk about. First of all, I played Magicians because I thought that a lot of people would be playing either Spiral or Trickstar. I didn't expect to play a lot of mirrors, but I expected some other people to be playing Magician. And I knew Magicians had a pretty good Trickstar matchup from what people told me. And I felt like if I played Spiral, then I wouldn't be able to do anything in particular to give myself an advantage in the mirror. So I instead decided to make a Magician deck that could be as consistently anti-Spiral as possible while still being able to beat other matchups. And that's what I was trying to do with this deck. It worked out pretty well. I went 6-1-1 in Swiss. I drew with and lost to Trickstars, and I lost to Trickstars in top 16. So one of the things I'm going to talk about is I think I could have probably sided for Trickstars a little bit better. Other than that, my Swiss matchups were 4 Trickstars, 2 Spiral, 1 ABC, and 1 Invoked. So I didn't play any mirrors. One of the reasons I think I did so well is because I played only 2 Spiral, and I played 4 Trickstars, which even though they were my 2 losses, it was still a pretty good matchup overall, I think. So the first different thing about this list is the 3 Pendulum Sorcerer. I know a lot of people only play 2 or 1. I really wanted to play 3 because I wanted to draw it going first as a way to destroy Double Iris Magician. So normally when you're going first, the only way to end with the trap, the Time Pendulum Graph, is by either drawing it or searching it directly with Duelist Alliance, or by destroying Double Iris. And since you can't use Double Iris's effect on your first turn, you can only do that with either Tornado Dragon or Pendulum Sorcerer. And since I really wanted to end with something other than Tornado Dragon if I could, I decided to max out on Pendulum Sorcerer. A lot of people only play 1 or 2 because they can search it with like Duelist Alliance or Joker. But since those cards are super powerful and can search pretty much any other card in your deck, I felt like by playing 3 Pendulum Sorcerer, if I did also draw one of the cards that searches it, then I could very easily just search something else, and I wouldn't be missing out on too much, because those cards are already so versatile. And then drawing multiple sorcerers does kind of suck, but it's a sacrifice I was willing to make, I guess. Another thing that's different about my deck is I played 2 Purple Poison and 1 Black Fang, and no White Wing Magician. Those 3 cards, when I was testing them, were super underwhelming, because for Black Fang and Purple Poison, when you go first, they do next to nothing, and White Wing is pretty much only good when you're going first and you're doing a combo as a way to make like 2 synchros when you summon it with Harmonizing. And in either case, they're pretty bad as scales and are generally just effects that you want to like search out and not actually draw. I decided to not play White Wing because the double synchro play was just like never the best play for me to make. I always wanted to either do Omega and Tornado Dragon if I didn't have the Time Pendulum Graph, or Omega and Baguska if I did have it. So I was never actually making double Omega, so I just took out White Wing. And although Black Fang and Purple Poison are really good when you go second, because they let you out certain cards, like Purple Poison lets you out just generic face-up cards, and Black Fang is especially good at playing around Strike. I felt like if I played fewer of those cards, then I could still search them when I needed them, but I wouldn't be drawing them when I was either going first or when I didn't need those cards in particular and I just needed any scale. So sort of opposite from the reason why I played 3 Sorcerer, the cards that search your Magicians, which are like mainly Pendulum Call and Wisdom Eye, can pretty much search any Magician when you're using it as a scale. So like Wisdom Eye will put any Magician into a scale, and Pendulum Call searches 2 Magicians. One of them is usually Harmonizing, and the second one is usually just something you're throwing in the scale anyway. So I felt like cutting down on these cards because I didn't want to draw them when I didn't need them, and anytime that I did need them, my deck was able to search them, and that wasn't going to be a problem. For the hand traps, I wanted to play 8 hand traps to maximize the chance of drawing just one when I went first or second, especially second, as a way to stop Spiral from doing their whole combo. And the 3 Ash and the 3 Jewel and the Maxi were the best 7, and then the 1 Ghost Over was sort of just a throw-in. It was pretty good. I didn't want to play more than 1 because it's bad in multiples and probably the worst of the 4 hand traps I played, but I did want to play the 1, and it got sided out pretty much every game. Another thing was I considered playing Gamma because it's really good when they try to Ash your Pendulum Call or something like that, but playing Driver just seemed like it was not worth it, and obviously Gamma is also super bad in multiples. For the spells, the only weird thing, I guess, is the 2 Pendulum Call. Since I played 8 hand traps, I really wanted to play an extra Pendulum Call, so I would draw it more often, and I would reduce the chance of banishing all my copies with Desires. And even though I can search it with Duelist Alliance, like I said, Duelist Alliance is so good, it can search pretty much any other card in the deck, and if I draw a Pendulum Call, then I can search something else if I've also drawn Duelist Alliance. A lot of people don't like Pendulum Call, especially in multiples, because if they Ash it, it's super good. And while that's true, you're usually either forcing their Ash with either Joker or Desires if you opened that, or your hand is so bad that playing Pendulum Call is pretty much the only card that is going to get you to a playable hand by getting you like a mismatching scale and harmonizing so that you can make some sort of a play. And in that case, even if they do have Ash, it's not like you were winning anyway, and if they don't have it, then you can actually play the game. Those are the only weird things in the main deck, really. I wouldn't change anything going forward. Main deck was great. Extra deck was also great. Weird things, I guess, are Void Ogre. This card is really good at negating stuff like Evenly Matched and Wavering Eyes and Magical Spring, and although I cited Scolding as a way to negate those cards when I went first, Void Ogre was like an extra way to consistently be able to beat those cards. And even though it requires me to have no hand, the times where I do have no hand are usually when I've drawn all combo cards and I am able to make like a couple synchros, including Void Ogre Dragon. And if I draw a hand trap, I can't make the Void Ogre Dragon as effectively, but I was okay with that because I was mostly using it to play around Evenly Matched, and if I had a hand trap in my hand, I would just commit less to the board and still feel safe without playing too much into Evenly Matched. The other weird thing, I guess, about the extra deck is that I didn't play Time Star Magician. That's pretty much just because it absolutely never came up for me. There was never a situation where I wanted to make it. Other than that, extra deck was fine. Wouldn't change anything there either. Side deck, I'd probably make some changes. The Scoldings were fine. Those went in pretty much whenever I went first. Evenly Matched was obviously fine. Went in whenever I went second. Reaper was good. As I mentioned, I played 2 Spiral and 1 ABC. So the Dragon Buster and Helix in my extra deck were obviously for that, and that helped. I wouldn't change those. The cards that I was like unsure about were the Wavering Eyes, the Cosmics, and the Kumongous. Kumongous was for Spiral, so that I could beat Sleeper with Last Resort attached to it. And also I could Pendulum Summon it if I had a hand trap and could stop them from doing that anyway, and just attack for damage. That never ended up actually happening, because in the 2 Spiral matchups I played, I thought they were going to make me go first, because I won the dice roll, and from what I saw of their deck, it seemed like they were trying to go first, and then they made me go first, and I just had this Kaiju stuck in my hand, so that kind of sucked. Cosmic Cyclone was very good, but it was sort of like a middle-of-the-road card, because I didn't want to bring it in against Spiral, because it really only hit Resort, and although that's pretty good, there were other cards that I wanted to bring in. It was very good against Magicians, which, as I mentioned, I didn't play any mirrors, so that never really came up. And it's all right against Trickstar. Sometimes when you get to sort of low life, the paying 1,000 kind of sucks. But they are like a super back row heavy deck, so it's good to have some way of like interacting with that. And then the Wavering Eyes, which, like I mentioned, I didn't play any mirrors, so that obviously never came in. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about Void Ogre is it is really good against Scapegoat, because they'll normally flip Scapegoat in the end phase, so you can like make Void Ogre after you've sort of played through all their other backwards, because that'll normally be the last thing they have left, and then they can't flip it on their end phase because you'll negate it, and they can't flip it on their own turn because they obviously can't combo then. So like that's one thing that Cosmic Cyclone is bad against Trickstar, is if you like hit a Scapegoat and you can't clear all the tokens. Changes going forward, I would probably take out the 2 Wavering Eyes for 2 Chaos Hunter, because that card's really good against Trickstar. And even though Magician generally has a good matchup against Trickstar, I didn't prepare enough for it, which is why I think I lost to it. So I think like with a real sideboard against them, I would be able to be super favored in that matchup. So I would definitely take out at least the 2 Wavering Eyes for 2 Chaos Hunter. And although that does seem like I'd be sacrificing a lot in the mirror, between the Cosmic Cyclones, the Evenly Matched, and the Scoldings, I already have a bunch of cards that are super good against Pendulum. So cutting the 2 Wavering Eyes, even though it's really good in that matchup, wouldn't hurt my chances in the mirror too much, because I was already siding in so many cards. Other than that, I might consider cutting the Kaijus. They were the last cards I added to the side deck in my whole testing process, so I didn't really get to test them that thoroughly. So what I would probably do if there was another event in the future is I would test that more, and I might put in a 3rd Chaos Hunter and a 3rd Cosmic Cyclone. So that's the deck. Other than those changes in the side deck that I might make, performed great. Shoutouts to everyone that helped me test, especially Paulie Aronson. He was going to play Magician, so we worked on the deck together. And that's it. So thank you for watching, and see everyone at the next event.
Please stay connected with me by adding me on all my social networks on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just copy the link into your search bar and add. Thank you.